You're listening to the Patenting for Inventors podcast with registered patent attorney, Dr. Adam Diamond, founder of Diamond Patent Law, the #1 source for securing your intellectual property needs. Now, here's your host, Adam Diamond.
Hello and welcome to the Patenting for Inventors podcast. This week, we're having a bonus episode with Amy Wenslow. Amy Wenslow is the owner of a company called Products to Profits. Now, I know a lot of you listening to this podcast are inventors, and getting intellectual property is a major part of your business, but you really need a team of people that you work with that have different areas of expertise. I am not a business or marketing person. So I was really happy when I met Amy many years ago at a Los Angeles Intellectual Property Law Association meeting, because she did something that, I don't do at all. And I knew that if I ever started up on my own, that, she'd be a good person to connect with, because a lot of my clients could really benefit from her experience. She has her own podcast called the Product Business Podcast. And I've looked at a lot of the episodes and has a lot of great information on it. So I'd like to welcome Amy Wenslow on.
Well, Adam, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to be having this conversation about the how you make money part of the patent process and commercializing a product.
Yeah, and another reason why I brought you on is that because of your experience and what you've done, you have products in 43 major market chains. You have products that have gone to QVC and Shark Tank. So it really sounds like you have the experience to really know how to bump up entrepreneurs, get them to the next level of what their goal really is, which is to make money off of their product.
Absolutely. I've been doing products for decades now and have had the experience of watching somebody in a store buy something I designed and actually watching them compare it to a competitor's product and go ahead and buy ours. And it's kind of a thrill. And then we have a client who's actually being filmed this season for Shark Tank. We have worked on a line that did a crazy number for QVC, did $300 million in 3 years, which is just an insane stat that it's hard to even wrap my head around.
Can you tell us how you actually got started initially in this line of business?
Absolutely. This is the funniest story because people don't quite believe it. I speak on investing and business and all of those pieces, right? But I'm actually an art school grad. I grew up digging clay out of a creek bed with tadpoles nibbling at my toes and making things and drying it in the sun. And then I would run around the neighborhood and foist off my sun-dried clay items on any adult I could find who would take an ashtray or a vase that was never going to hold water. And I ended up going to art school, and my degree is actually in design. So I've been the person who determines how something is going to get manufactured, made, designed, the materials, solve tech problems. And then I also managed sales teams of 24 people that were working nationally with pretty much every major chain in that industry. And so it's really been an evolution from the creative side into the business world. So sales, marketing, and then I had to learn the language of capital and of investors. And having a very holistic view, it's rather like we have one foot in the design and creative production world and the other foot in the business world. And we translate for a lot of our clients between those two areas so that they can really understand the business concepts that they need to have a thriving business based on their products.
So can you tell me the different types of people that would use your service? I can imagine that there might be a wide range from just, a solo inventor saying, I just want to move this to the next level. I don't know what to do. And, maybe you get more successful companies that really want to, ramp up what they're doing right now because they've just kind of hit a wall. So what are the types of people you work with? And, when they do come to you, what are the first steps that you do to help them move forward?
Sure. We have clients ranging from solopreneurs and, daughter and father teams, husband and wife, best friends, from that early stage all the way into companies that are already selling to major accounts. Like one of our clients was going to lose the Lowe's home improvement account. And we did our work, and instead of losing it, they got a $15 per unit price increase, and the account doubled in a year to do $2 million instead of getting kicked out. So we work on company turnarounds, and we work on growth of businesses. So when you think about how to grow a business and growing from the early stage into actually having a dynamic, viable business, that's where we come in.
And you do have, everyone has different needs. And I know that you have different types of programs to kind of fit or tailor make the advice or consults that you can give. Can you talk about some of the different things that you offer to clients?
Sure. Since everyone comes to us in a different stage with different goals and in different categories of product, there are different services that are needed. We do everything from package design, package engineering, pricing strategy is a really big piece of our work, improving profit margins. Like, how are we going to sell it at the price that it needs to be given the cost? And how do we get the perceived value to be high enough that all the math works, right? We do that. And so the way that we provide services to people we have training programs. We have a great number of people who wanted to learn how to do some of what we do. We actually train that now. We have one-day strategy sessions where we will do a giant whiteboard session with research behind it, and we create the entire timeline of the business for 12 to 18 months, and we do it in a day. It's fabulous for people that are approaching investors and that really need to understand what they have to do every month to get to the goal that they have. We also will do consulting services where we're meeting with people, helping with negotiations on licensing deals and different sales opportunities. And we even pull contacts out of our database. One of the things that I am really, really loving is our product mastermind. We just launched this in January of 2019, and it has been phenomenal. It's a very small group, focused environment, and there's training to it, there's accountability, and there's a lot of fun. So those are our training programs, the consulting pieces, and then if someone needs package design work done, we're actually doing a custom scope of work specifically for their project and what is the type of collateral material, the sell sheets, all of those pieces that they need specifically for their goals with their product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is all, all good for me to learn too, because people come to me and ask me these things, and I should at least have some basic knowledge of, the next steps, but also know where my limitations are and be able to, direct them to the people that I know. And I do see that you do have something on your website called Social Media Done for You. Can you talk a little bit about, how you work in social media with your clients?
Absolutely. Social media is so important, and video ads, headlines, the graphics of your ads have become really, really important. So social media is something that a lot of our clients need help getting started with for their business. They might be doing it for personal, but it changes when you're promoting a product. And how do you do social media without annoying your friends, right? And how do you do it so it actually is creating results? We have a campaign that we ran as a test in June. And a lot of people think you need big, huge ad budgets. Don't necessarily. Adam, we started a campaign. We ran it for 2 weeks. We really put about $250 into it, and it generated over $700 in sales, right? We were just doing a little test. So when we're doing social media for clients, we've done things like run their Twitter feed during their first ever trade show. And one of our clients actually got his first ever sale from a little kind of guerrilla tactic that we take when we're doing that. And it didn't cost him anything for ads to do that. It was literally us tweeting on his behalf while he was at the show doing something else. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah. Good to know. I mean, so many different areas of social media, and that's really where, the advertising is focused these days. Maybe can you talk about some of, the common mistakes when someone comes to you and they say, this is what I've been doing. If there are certain red flags where automatically you can just say, all right, this is what you're doing wrong, and let's say this is how we can fix it. So what are some of the common mistakes that you see a lot of?
Oh my gosh, my big hot button is too much inventory. If I could have everybody hear that. I know that it's really tempting to think of this like, oh, I can pay lower per unit by buying more of it. But in the early stages of your business, you need to have capital available to do the other things. If you put all your money in your inventory, you don't have any money left for marketing. And that's a really, really big, big, big mistake. The other piece about having too much inventory that comes up is sometimes you packaged it wrong. If you're not using a professional and they don't know to put certain things on your packaging, then your packaging isn't even legal to sell the product in the United States. Things like country of origin on packaging are really important. And if you've ordered a lot of inventory and your packaging isn't right, then you actually have to redo your packaging, repack all that product. So number one would be having too much inventory. Okay. Keep your inventory very lean at the beginning. I can speak more about that if you'd like, Adam. The second thing is making sure that your packaging is legally compliant. And then related to that, if you want to sell to major accounts like Home Depot or Walmart or Target or Chewy's or any of those, then you need to make sure that your packaging is going to comply with their specifications. So if you were selling internationally, you might need, English, French, and Spanish on your package. And a lot of people don't know that. So when we're working on packaging, we're looking at the legalities of the packaging as well. So that's a really big mistake. Make sure that everything that's on your package is correct and double check it. The fourth thing I would say here is please get a production sample of your product. There's a few different points where you should sample a product from your factory. Number one, there's something called a counter sample. That's at the beginning when they're figuring out how to make your thing. Okay, that's the one you approve before you give a purchase order to say, yeah, I want 500 or 1,000 units. Okay, the production sample is the one they're in production on your order, and you want to get a packaged final piece so that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that what they're producing is correct. Okay, that one piece right there saved one of our clients $150,000 just because of part of our process. So it's really important to check a production sample. Okay, so those couple things will save you a lot of time and heartache with a product.
All right, that's really important information to know. I've been looking at your podcast and the titles of your episodes. I really want to go through everything and listen to it, and I haven't been able to do that yet. But the titles are just so intriguing that maybe we could focus, on a summary on some of the key points and some of them that I thought would be useful for some of the people that listen to my podcast. One of them is the 3-minute business skill to practice. Can you say anything about what is that business skill?
That business skill is actually managing your own energy and managing your thinking. So most of us understand that communication is words, right? But there is energy and intent behind the words. So mastering your energy and choosing the frequency, if you want to think of it that way, that you are putting into your communications. It is massively, massively helpful with investors. They can feel when your energy is about desperation, even though you're talking about your business. So you want to actually master your mindset and master your language. And that alone creates results. I've seen it happen over and over, where when there's an energy mismatch or a thinking mismatch, everything else in a deal can look great. And there's this thing that happens and the investor's checkbook closes. Or the buyer gets that there's an insecurity about the deliverable or the timing, or that you're not really sure about something. And there's a way to handle that situation and still hold your strength. and your forward momentum. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. This may be partly related to what you were saying about packaging earlier and how certain companies are require different packaging. And I can see that causing a problem with a lot of people wanting to go into various retail outlets. And you do have a podcast episode called Different Business Models for Products. So I'm sure some people, maybe their goal is going into retail. Other people, they're just trying to go online and sell on Amazon.com. Can you talk about like the different business models and advantages and disadvantages to some of those and how you can help with that?
Absolutely. So the business models can be the approaches, right? Someone wanting to just use licensing and to license the product out for a passive income, royalty, and they're going to have to be okay with giving up some control and some impact on what the check amounts are, because you just can't keep the control and get the license to happen. So licensing is one business model. Another is design, manufacture, and make the product, right? Then there's something that a lot of people don't know about. You can actually combine the strategies. You could have licensing and still keep sales in certain parts of the world or off of certain channels, right? Like your own website. We have clients where the licensing deal happens, and part of the deal is that our client wanted to keep the website sales, right? So what we actually arranged was that the product for them to sell on their website was actually bought from the company they licensed to. So that's kind of an extra piece. And then one of the big trends right now, Adam, is a lot of Amazon sellers are looking to move offline because still in the United States, over 80% of the sales are happening offline. For all the buzz about online, 80% of the dollars are moving from offline, massively influenced by online.
Yeah, I had no idea that. I buy everything on Amazon pretty much. So I always like to think everyone's like me. But obviously, when you look at the numbers, things can be different. And people just, if they don't look at the numbers and know how things are being sold, then you could be missing out on a whole lot of profit.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of Amazon sellers are trying to do offline as well, or are trying to move to what I call branded websites like Target.com, HomeDepot.com. And that move is a blurring of the lines. That's actually the same reason that Amazon bought Whole Foods, right? Because they have offline distribution and real estate and eyeballs that are very different than Amazon's normal consumer. So this is all leaning into what's called omni-channel retailing, which means how do you have online sales and offline sales working together in your sales channels and distribution. And that's part of creating a business model that works. We are involved with that with almost every one of our clients.
Okay, that's very good that you offer those services. Maybe I'll just cover one last podcast episode I think that people would be interested in. We don't need to cover all of them, but you have one called 10 Reasons People Buy. Maybe just give a couple of them help out what people should be focusing on when thinking about selling their product is knowing why people are buying it. So what are a couple of the big ones?
Well, the biggest thing is to understand this. If people understand this one point, it will go a long way. And that is this, that as human beings, we think we buy from logic. We do not buy from logic. We buy from how a product makes us feel, what a thing makes us feel. We buy from emotion and aspiration, and then we back it up with logic. Okay? And it's a very, very funny thing when you look at the psychology behind purchasing, right? It's really important to know what's called your customer avatar or their demographics, right? Demographics are data. They're in a particular age range, they live in a particular area, they have kids or they don't, they own a house or they don't. Those are facts, right? But really what we buy from is the other thing called psychographics. Psychographics are all the psychological reasons that we buy. So a psychographic is how we identify ourselves. Like the phrase soccer mom is a psychographic, right? That she has a value system around being available at her kids' soccer games. Another example of a psychographic would be it's kind of a demographic to say that somebody's an entrepreneur, but to say that they have hustle, right, is more of a psychographic. Like this is someone who's driven by goals and they really are looking to achieve something. So when you understand the psychology of your consumer, it's easier to understand why they're buying your product. And when you understand why someone's buying your product, then you can actually market appropriately. So that, because here's the thing, marketing is really the act of having people who can benefit from whatever you're doing or selling, or, your product, having the product connect with them so that they go, oh, people like me buy that thing, right? Because it's an ethical approach when you are going, okay, these are the people that can be served by it. How do I communicate with them?
That's all really good information to know for, not just for people selling things, but just, in general in life, what people want and, how the thinking process goes. Amy, you mentioned licensing before, and a lot of the people who are listening to my podcast are solo inventors. They, came up with a really great product, but they don't have the funds to really do everything themselves, and they're interested in licensing it out. Can you talk a little bit more about, how you are involved in the whole licensing process?
Licensing can be a really great strategy if someone is in a day job that they love, they want to keep doing that. It gives them a little bit more passive income. The other reason that someone might want to license is, like you said, they don't have the money to do it themselves, or they don't have the expertise in the other areas. And sometimes, frankly, you just don't want to be the one running a business, right? We see that. And so if someone wants a more hands-off approach, we actually work with them in, we call a licensing support package, to, number one, create a sell sheet that's effective. I know we talked a little bit about the psychology and psychographics and demographics. The psychographic approach to why someone buys still applies even if you're licensing. So let me explain that. If you are licensing a product, the person that you're talking to inside the company that you want to license to has certain needs, right? They have drivers, like they want to look like they're good at their job. They want to be the one who brings in the really great product. They want to make sure that they're viewed as a good professional and really competent and expert at what they do. So you want to think about your product when you're licensing it as, how does it fit with the company that you're talking to? What is the thing that it's going to give them? Not just increased sales, but what does it let them be? Can they be the industry leader? Does it extend the life of an existing product that they already have? Does it give them an add-on piece? All of those. And then even think about, okay, I'm talking to a VP of innovation, so that's a title that might be there, or VP of brand, product development specialist. You can be talking to a lot of different people when you're licensing, but they have a particular set of needs. And you want to think about that with your sell sheet even. And your sell sheet for licensing should be angled towards the value proposition, fancy word for what do they get out of it, for the company that you're licensing to, not so much about the features of your product. You want to do a little bit about that, some benefit language about the product, but you want to talk about the landscape of what it gives the company. And that's a really important distinction that will serve your audience who are wanting to license. So yes, we do a licensing support package. We pull contacts out of our database for our clients. And by contacts, I mean like really good contacts with names, email addresses, phone numbers that they can approach, and we actually help with that. So how do they talk to them? How do they overcome certain roadblocks? And for some of our clients, we're actually the ones making the phone calls. And in one of the negotiations that we were doing with our client and a company he was licensing to, we were all in a conference call, and there was one question that I asked the company he was licensing to that, in no joke, no less than 3 minutes, that company in the same phone call came back and it added $50,000 to our client's deal. So they got $50,000 more for knowing to ask one question and when to ask it.
Well, that's really pivotal in someone's business if they're able to do that and do it well. Are you able to share any things that are coming up? You did mention you're having someone on Shark Tank. Are you allowed to give a sneak peek into what this product might be, or are you under some type of non-disclosure agreement?
We are under strict non-disclosure agreement. We are on lockdown about it.
All right.
I wish I could, but we've had clients on Shark Tank. We have clients where we've improved their profit margin by 800%. It's been really, really a fun run. And one of the things that a lot of people think is that working with a professional consulting company like ours would be really expensive. And it's not. It's shockingly affordable when you look at the realm of the mistakes and the prices of those mistakes. We have one client, she was about to do a Good Morning America deal on steel. And she was a brand new client. She sent the product to us. And Adam, her packaging didn't have country of origin on it. And nobody at her factory had caught it. Nobody, the designer who did the packaging didn't put it on there for whatever reason. And it's about to go to that major buyer. And they would have said no to the deal. So we're the ones that caught it and said, hey, wait a second, before you send this, you have to do this. And she's like, what do I do? And I said, okay, well, here's the workaround that is completely professional for you to do. And within 3 days, she had the problem fixed and went on to sell out about 65% of her inventory in 7 days.
Wow, that's great.
So, yeah.
So I think we're kind of coming up on the end of this podcast, and you've given some great advice to, potential, for entrepreneurs and inventors. What is the best way for people to contact you?
I would love to have a conversation with your listeners if they've got a product and they want some perspective on it. We do a free discovery conversation where we always make sure that there's 1 to 3 action items for you. No matter if you work with us or somebody else or you continue on your own, we want to serve people. So you can go to products2profits.com. That's products, PRODUCTS, and then TO, profits, PROFITS.com. And on the homepage, we have some really nice videos that talk you through some of the choices about making a product and about building a business. So you can go watch those. They're up there all the time. And then you can book a discovery conversation with us from the website as well. So products2profits.com/discovery will get you to our discovery scheduling page. And Adam, we have a brand new book that we just put out called Turn Products into Profits.com. And it's available right now for a free digital download for a limited time. So people can go to turnproductsintoprofits.com to get a free digital download. And I would love to connect with them. Also, we do have our podcast. So it's the Product Business Podcast. It's available on every platform for every platform of listening that you could possibly imagine. We've put it everywhere.
And Amy, is there a phone number that people can reach you by?
People can reach us here in the office at 626-396-0990. Again, 626-396-0990. Or they can email info@products2profits.com. That's info@productstoprofits.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on my show. And, we're doing a little bit cross-show advertisement here. I'm going to be on Amy's show as well. So thank you so much. And, best of luck with, all of your ventures to my listeners and to you, Amy, as well. And, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Adam.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Patenting for Inventors podcast with host Adam Diamond. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review on iTunes. The contents of this podcast are intended for general informational purposes only. The facts of every legal matter are unique, and the content of this podcast should not be construed as offering legal advice for your specific legal situation. For more information and help with your own intellectual property needs, contact Adam Diamond at patentingforinventors.com. That's patentingforinventors.com, or call Diamond Patent Law at 424-281-0162. The preceding information may be considered an attorney advertisement and does not establish any attorney-client relationship.